You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. It is your host, Brian Fullerton, here hanging with you guys, and good morning. Well, guys, on this podcast, we talk about all things lawns, lessons, and life, and the idea here is to help you guys grow a more successful lawn care landscaping business so you guys can go out there and crush it. So if you guys are new here, just want to say a welcome to the show. If you guys are a regular listener and returning listener and subscriber, whatever you call it, super appreciate you guys coming back, checking things out. Hey, listening to one podcast episode is great. Having you guys come back for 3, 4, 5, 7, 10 episodes, super appreciate the love. For all of you guys that are just diehard binge listeners and you guys are subscribed to the show and don't miss a show, super appreciate that love more than you guys will ever know, okay? So here's the deal. On today's podcast episode, I wanted to just go through kind of a Q&A list of different things that I had here submitted from you guys from my IG stories just a couple of days ago. And we did one of those question poll things where you can like submit a question. And so I want to go through those right now. The funny thing or the ironic thing about asking this open Discord Q&A was half of them were about people skills and hiring people and what to pay people and how to start a crew and hire a crew and attract good talent and leadership and business. And so I did that episode on the Monday show, if I'm not mistaken, that was about everything rises and falls on leadership. And so out of the 30 or 40 questions that I got submitted, like I said, half of them were about that topic alone, and the other half were just like spitball kind of one-off type questions. So I want to go through the other 10 or 15 of those right here. I'm going to read them to you guys real time. I don't have a script. I don't have canned answers. I don't have anything here. It's going to be a little bit more of just a casual show that we get to share with you guys and just get my top of mind thoughts on every topic that we go through real time, really quick. Does that sound fair? So like I said, 40 different questions or so submitted. Half of them were about people and hiring, and it seems to be like the pressing topic or question for everybody in 2023 is where do you find good people? If you missed that episode, go back to last Monday's. It was a really, really helpful show. All right, so let's go through these here. I'm going to rip through these as fast as possible. In just a quick second, my little phone went off, which somehow sparked me to remind myself to hit the show sponsors, announcements, and ads. And that way we can hear a little bit more from Marty, Mr. Producer, the golden voice of the podcast show. If you guys know, we've been running this podcast for about, what would it be, Mr. Producer? About 3 years now. And the interesting thing is after about 6 months of doing this thing solo, not that I was drowning with it, it didn't have the flair. It didn't have the quality. It didn't have the artistic touch and the beauty to the making this a world-class podcast and show. So I wanted to just take a quick second here and plug Marty, Mr. Producer, because he is not only one of the greats for broadcasting and production work, not only in our industry, but many people's industry as well. If you guys don't know, he actually does voiceover work, and he's been on not only like national, company commercials with voiceover work and radio work. He's been in so many ads that you guys have seen in the green industry, which is really where he's taking off right now. But also, so many of you guys have hired him for voiceover work for your B-roll, for your Instagram reels, for your website commercials, for your Facebook ads. So one quick plug I want to get here. Marty didn't ask me to do this, but if you guys do need any voiceover work, reach out to Marty, Mr. Producer, or Mr. Producer USA on IG, and he will get you guys all set up. His rates are actually pretty nominal. I keep telling him that he needs to get the rate adjustment letter and double his rates in 2023. Not for me, of course, not for me, but for everybody else. I'm just having some fun because really, $100 here, $200 there, $300 there, you're good to go with voiceover work. And it is an interesting thing to find somebody who has the golden voice and has a quick turnaround time. Well, Mr. Producer can help you guys out with anything that you guys have going on and shaking and baking in the spring rush of 2023. So that being said, we are going to hear from today's show sponsors and announcements. Let's kick it over to Marty, Mr. Producer. Then we're going to come back and answer your guys' questions about how to grow a more successful lawn landscaping business. Hang tight.
Enjoying today's show? Motivated to take your lawn care and landscaping business to the next level? Learn what it takes to grow your lawn and landscaping business today with training and education from the Lawntrepreneur Academy. Get educated with how-tos on mulch installation, plowing snow, aeration and overseeding, and so much more. These training programs are designed to help you save time and make more money with your business. Invest in your future by first investing in yourself. Use promo code PODCAST to save 10% on all courses today at LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com. Now, back to the show.
All right, guys, we're going to jump right back into it here, and let's go through your guys' questions as quick as possible. Like I said, not going to be a lengthy episode today. Number one, this one comes from the _official Robert. Invoicing and online / credit card payments online. Well, I'm not really sure the specific question there, but let's talk about it while we got it. Invoicing online. Well, let's talk about invoicing via paper, right? So many of us used to write carbon copy invoices. I used to do that at length. I had a 3-paper carbon copy invoice. The white one was for the customer, right? Guys, help me out. It's been a minute. It's been 7 or 8 years, maybe 10 years since I did this. The white one was for the customer. The yellow one was for us, and I think the pink one was for like the bookkeeper or something like that. I don't know. I had 3. I don't think I've ever used the pink one. I always use the white and the yellow. Man, I just talking about that out loud right now, dude, gives me like literally PTSD. Like how far we've all come as a society, right? You guys remember back in the day, you used to use like your credit card, and if the credit card machine was down in like the 80s and 90s, you have to like get the knuckle bunch. What do they call it? The knuckle buster. And you would have like the pink slip, and then you put the credit card like face down, and this machine would like roll through and basically like grind it into ink paper or like thermal paper, you know, if you will, and like have the card numbers like pop up on it. I used to do that all the time back in the day at Circuit City. Oh my God. Like, yeah, I know I used to work at Circuit City, but the reality is like I was working the front counter once, and I remember the credit card machine went down. And I think that's how I was actually introduced to like the knuckle busting machine. And the manager comes out, and of course she's like 70, you know, and she's like, "Oh, no big deal. Like we can take care of that." And they had this like, looks like one of those 3-hole punchers, but different. They had like a sliding rail. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about. And you're like, man, we're all getting old. But I used to do all that back at the Circuit City counter when the credit card machine wasn't working. You never know if the funds were actually like there, you know, so somebody walks out the front door with like $500 of electronics, and you know, I have no idea why Circuit City is not in business anymore, but I digress. So invoicing online, you can do it through a CRM today. I highly encourage people to check out Yardbook. They are a sponsor on the Brian's Lawn Maintenance YouTube channel. We've been with Yardbook now for almost 4, maybe 5 years, and I absolutely love what they do. I call them the iPhone of yard CRMs because lawn care CRMs, because it just works. It's a free software. You can pay for the upgraded version for like $35 a month. If you're processing credit cards, there's a 1% fee. But if you process about $40,000 in credit cards, from what I understand, the break even works on it to pay the $35 a month to eliminate that $1 per month processing fee. You can invoice via QuickBooks as well if you use them for your accounting software. But for me personally, we run everything through Yardbooks. For our invoicing, everything we do now does charge card on file. We have other podcast episodes where we've talked about that. But basically, at the end of the month, we quote unquote cash out for any work that we do for all of our lawn maintenance customers residentially. Commercial are all invoiced through the Yardbook app, but they have net 30 to pay. Also, charge card on file. This was on a coaching call I talked about recently. He said, "Would you do charge card for mulch? Do you do charge card for aerations, dethatchings, overseedings, cleanups?" And I said, "Absolutely." I said, "We don't leave the property until we've charged the card on file." And he goes, "What about like a $1,200 mulch job?" I said, "If we go to the customer's front door, tell them we're all done, and they tell me, hey, great, I get paid in 2 weeks, and that's where I'm going to pay you out of as my next paycheck." Number one, that's obviously not the customer for us. And then number two, we're not going to be waiting 7 to 10 days or whatever it is to get paid. So literally every single thing that we do is charge card on file. I don't know why this is still a conversation in 2023. I don't know why people haven't adopted this hardcore. I was talking to the same person. He said, "What about a 7-year-old that doesn't have an email?" I said, "Dude, every single," that was the question that I had 5 years ago when I adopted our Yardbook. Every single person, I'm probably on this topic for a little too long here, but every single person has an email and a bank account and a credit card. If not, how do they pay their mortgage? If not, how do they pay the rent? Ain't nobody putting $600 in stacks, in an envelope and paying, the landlord or the bank, at Huntington Bank or Chase Bank for their mortgage. Okay, so everybody, I don't care if they're 18 to 80. Deaf, dumb, blind, whatever. I don't care if they are rich. I don't care if they're poor. I don't care if they're in trailer parks. I don't care if they're in $1 million home. Everybody has a credit card that you can get on file. And if they're hard, hard line, like I'm not giving you your card, two options. One, they're not for you. Two, they can write a check, prepay for the season, and get a 5% discount. That's the only way to do business, okay? Other forms of payment that are not acceptable: Venmo, using Square, using Cash App, using checks in the mail, even paying cash. We take no cash ever. I don't ever want my guys to be tempted to make $40-$50 a quick buck, mowing a quick lawn on the side. Or, some customer gives them $200, they put it in the dash, and 3 weeks later, I'm like, hey, did so-and-so ever pay their bill? Or they normally pay cash. They say, oh yeah. And I'm saying, where is it? And they go, I don't know. It was in the work truck and now it's not there. And then you got to fire somebody for something stupid or incompetency, right? All right. So that's what we use for our online invoicing and credit card processing. Let's go through a couple more. Best way to take on residential mowing clients in a couple of specific subdivisions. Well, number one, just have a great marketing campaign. Number two, have great route density, which specifically means having boundaries where you work and where you're not working. Number three, blitzkrieg that thing with, that's my marketing approach, with yard signs, postcards, Facebook groups, ads, trailer wraps, customer referral programs, all in the above. That's the best way to take on residential mowing clients in a couple specific subdivisions. All right. Somebody said, bidding on large commercial jobs from Blueprints. Ooh, that's a good one. I haven't been asked that before. Well, you should be on those Blueprints, hopefully designated turf areas. And from there, you should just simply be able to measure the turf and then charge per your acre rates, or however you guys do it per square foot for your mowing price. It should be that simple if you're bidding on a new property like that. Landscaping wise, I'm not your guy. I don't know how to bid out 38 trees, 25 holly bushes, 34 yards of mulch, and, a bunch of fresh edging. I can do that stuff. I do not do that stuff. Okay. Somebody else said, DS Lawn and Landscape. How much should you save for taxes in your business, percentage-wise per transaction? This is a great conversation. Let's talk about this. I don't think we've talked about this on my podcast. Here's a good rule of thumb that I can give you guys so you do not get bit. This is a very conservative approach. Number one, save anywhere from 15 to 20% of all gross receipts that come in for your company. I know that everybody and their brother has covered this topic and have told you a number or a percentage. I'm not saying anybody's right. I'm not saying anybody's wrong. Here's what I will tell you factually, concretely, statistically, 100%ly, this is what you need to be doing, is saving anywhere from 15 to 20% of your gross revenue. Now, that comes from an initial conversation of saying, I don't have a good bookkeeper. I don't have a monthly or a quarterly tax planning session with my CPA. This is just, I'm saving 20% off the top, and I'm hoping by the end of the year, as I hire a CPA to file my taxes, I don't ever owe more than this number. Unless you're making, about $300,000 take home, your tax bracket's not going to be, which would be wild to do on your own in your first year or two. But look up the federal, marginal tax rates. Find out where the 24% bracket hits you. It's going to be probably north of about 90 to 150,000 take home. If you're taking that home or more, then maybe start saving more than that first 20%. But here's how it works. For example, you do $100,000 gross, you save 20%, you have $20,000 on the side. You have $80,000, quote unquote, in profit after that. Well, you don't have profit just yet because you had $35,000 to $40,000 to do that for your business, to generate that business. So you have $100,000 gross. You save $20,000 on the side for your taxes. Now you are down to $80,000. You had $40,000 expense to make that $100,000. So now what are you down to? $40,000. $40,000. I don't know where it is on the marginal tax rates for federal or in state, but let's say it is 10% for simple math. What is 10% of 40,000? Right? If that's true profit, $4,000. How much did you save? $20,000. Right? So at the worst case scenario, you'd have to make multiples of that, 150 to 200 to 300,000 before you ever get bit in that approach. By the way, if you're doing 150, 200, 300,000, here's my obvious PSA. Hire a bookkeeper and have a great tax professional that can help you navigate those conversations. A more mature conversation isn't how much do I save percentage-wise off of my gross revenue. A more mature conversation is a monthly or quarterly tax strategy planning session with your accountant saying, what is my tax liability and how can we effectively reduce this number legally with every option that we have available to us. If you want to be conservative, save 15 to 20% of everything you bring in, then have that conversation. And if you have $100,000 gross business, you save $20,000 per year, you should have $5,000 per quarter. And if you only, based on your current bookkeeping and your current P&L and your current profit and loss, are projected to have $1,500 owed, then your quarterly conversation should be you have $3,500 of play money to go reinvest into the company or take out and go reinvest into something else. Do you see the conversation? It should be a more intimate quarterly, if not monthly conversation about what is your tax bill looking like. But for the blanket statement, for the broad speaking, for the first year in business guy who's like, dude, I don't know what to pay for my estimated. Okay, you should be saving 15 to 20% of your gross, bringing it in. You will not owe that. Here's how it works into your favor. Stay ultra conservative your first year. Your second year, once you're done filing your taxes in March and April, and you realize you only owe a third or maybe half of what you initially saved up, now you've got 5 to 10 grand of a quote unquote bonus, right, of money that can go back into the spring rush to help you with payroll, landscaping, mulch, materials, payroll, marketing, websites, all that kind of stuff. So if you stay conservative through the year, you'll have a little spring bump. Stay conservative through the year, have a little spring bump. If you get more mature with your conversation with your tax professional and your bookkeeper, you should be able to not necessarily run it red line, but you should be able to know where you're at plus or minus $1,000 to $5,000 quarterly. You should be able to know where you're at plus or minus $1,000 to $5,000 by the end of the year, right? Not counting all your other regular standard deductions as your tax professional takes care of your tax liability and helps you file your taxes. So, for example, let me just give you, for instance, if you owe $10,000 per quarter, right, and that might be $8,000 federal, $2,000 state. You've paid in $8, $16, $24, $32 federally. You paid in $32,000 federally through the 4 quarters, and you've paid in $8,000 through state. Your bookkeeper and then really your CPA should be able to have a December 10th meeting with you, or a December 20th meeting the week before Christmas, that first or second week of December. You should be able to do a complete dry run on your taxes and say, hey, what we're projecting is a $42,000 federal tax bill and a $8,900 state tax bill. We've pretty much ran the numbers to where we need to be. You might owe a little bit for both sides, or you might be under a little bit because you overpaid, right? Here's what I'm looking at. I still got to do some final numbers, some final figuring out, add some final deductions, add some final whatevers. But here's where you're looking to, quote unquote, wind up. And I hate using the word wind up, but that's where you're going to wind up because you've already been tax planning and projecting the whole way through. Let me ask you guys just a really quick question, because I don't know if we're going to get into all these answers here. I'm just telling you, dude, I did not do that first 10, 11 years in business. And that was one of the greatest things that almost cost me my dream, was being up and down on taxes. Every year I was up $2,000, down $5,000, up $2,000, up $5,000, down $2,000, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, $2,000, $6,000. There's years like 6, 7, 8 years ago where we owed like $3,700. I didn't have it. And I had a payment plan, and I was able to pay it off, 90 days into spring because we had an influx of cash. But at March, I did not have, the $3,700 sitting around. And I just, whether I underpaid, obviously, quarterly, or I just ended up having a larger tax bill based on the final calculations, it was not pretty. And we're talking pennies, folks. We're talking peanuts. We're talking $3,700. Like, when you're broke as a joke, $3,700 is $1 million. The more money you make, you're like, $3,700 is like 2 days worth of like figuring stuff out. I always say difficult takes a day and impossible takes a week. $3,700 is not a big deal as you continue to grow your company. But nonetheless, it can still put you out of business in your first year if you don't have it, or your second year if you don't have it. It's like, you're like, I'm going to be late and I owe money to the IRS and I have to work on a payment plan. Look, I wouldn't say everybody's been there, but half of business owners have probably been there. I wondered the true statistic, but I would venture to say 30 to 50% of people have probably had a tax payment plan, whether they owed on state or federal, or sales tax because they forgot and it finally caught up to them, right? So What I gave you was the conservative approach, and what I gave you was the more mature answer. After that more mature answer, by the way, like there's 101, then there's the 202. The 303 is, hey, every quarter we have 20 to 25 or 5,000, 25,000, 50,000, right, for our tax liability. What can we do to reinvest this into something that can make more money for us? Either it's going to be a write-off and we'll save 30% off the top, or number two, where can we get a 1-to-1? Or number three, where can we get a 2-for-1, right? Look at government incentives, look at different programs. There's a lot of things available out there. You do have to have a very competent CPA to help you navigate some of those conversations, because passive activity losses and passive income generators as pigs and pals, you can't just have depreciation offset active income. Okay, you can't just be a real estate investor and have it offset your active job income if you're making $80,000 as a high-paid sales rep, or $180,000 as a high-paid sales rep, right? There's different ways to designate things and categories and things that you have to file. I'm learning this as I go. I just want you guys to understand, like, there's levels at every level, right? So in the beginning, save 20%. The second year, you should be playing it by the wire, right? Because like the obvious conversation here, and this whole topic might just be about taxes, but the obvious conversation is like a W-2 wage earner makes $50,000. The government takes, 20% of that. They have 10 grand saved up. By the end of the year that they already paid in, at the end of the year, they get $3,200 back on their taxes because of their standard deductions. And they're like, oh, dude, free $3,200. Well, the reality is, like, as many of you guys know, and we've all heard this joke, but that's your money. That was your money the whole time. It could have been generating additional income for you. You could have reinvested it. You could have took a vacation, all the above. The government took an interest-free loan on that, and, they're basically giving you back a third of what they took. And they're high-fiving you and saying, here's your refund. And you're like, yay. First off, not only should you not care about that $3,200, you should really be trying to fight for your other $10,000. That is legally your money, and they are legally taking it from you. Ask my friend Paver Pete about how he feels about legal plunder. You know what I'm saying? So the point is that other $10,000, you need to have that working for you. Okay, so you don't get those options as a W-2. You get those options when you're a business owner, right? All right. I'm going to shift gears because I just get so fired up on this stupid topic. It's your money. It's your money. And I'm sick and tired of the government taking so much of it, fighting endless wars and stupid bullshit that none of us civilians and regular people care about from a day-to-day basis. My money's getting taken to go fund abortions and stupid stuff and crazy stuff and endless wars. And Nancy Pelosi made $174,000 a year, but after 40 years in Congress, she's worth $150 million. Like, the math is the lady only cleaned up like, $8 million, but somehow she's worth 150. Don't give me this whole compound interest bullcrap, right? Like, this is your money. You want to know why I'm so passionate about the topic? Yes, to help you guys save money, but two, this is my money. This is my sweat. This is my toil. This is me exchanging time for money, and me and my guys exchanging time for money. Two things. I could have spent time with my wife, but number two, I left my wife and kid to go make money to take care of my wife and kid, ironically enough, and then the government's going to take a third of that? I don't think so. And with 87,000 new IRS agents being, welcomed into the ushering ranks of the other 60,000 agents, there's 150,000 people are going to be looking over your shoulder in 2023, 24, 25. They're estimated to bring in an extra $1.7 trillion, right? From scouring and shaking people down. You need to get a bookkeeper. There's your plug for Cycle CPA. Brian, why are you so excited about plugging Cycle CPA? Because it helps people. It helps you understand what the hell is going on with your personal finances. It doesn't matter how much you make, it's how much you keep, right? We've all heard stuff like that. And I'm writing quarterly checks that make me want to barf. And I had to, because we had to qualify for a certain income to get our mortgage. Just like anybody else, you got to get a mortgage or buy a car or whatever. It took us an extra year longer than I wanted, because you need 2 years of good tax returns to qualify for a mortgage. It took me an extra year because our home cost more money than we thought. So now I'm paying 3 years into more taxes than it needed to be. But legally speaking, based on the great conversations that I have quarterly with my CPA, my goal is to reduce that tax bill significantly for the rest of my freaking life until I need to buy, something more outlandish or whatever. You guys know what I'm saying? But the conversation I've had the last 2-3 years paying an exorbitant amount of taxes, And that doesn't mean I'm paying 100 grand a year in taxes. Doesn't mean I'm paying 10 grand a year in taxes. It just means every ounce more than what is over zero is my damn money. And it's like people are like, well, money's not everything. I'm like, then why do you work so much for it? And then other people are like, well, pay your fair share. I'm like, what's a fair share? Like they say like $2 out of $100 should be able to fund the military and the government. $2 out of $100. Right now we're paying like 15, 20, 24, 32 dollars out of 100 to go to stuff that we don't care about, don't need, don't nothing. How's that for your Fullerton Unfiltered effing podcast for the day?
You've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. My life has value. I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. I want you to get up right now. Get up, go to your windows, open them, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. Things have got to change.
How many stations does this go out?
You've got to get mad.
67. I know it goes to Louisville and Atlanta.
I'm not going to take this anymore. Then we'll figure out what to do about the depression and the inflation and the oil crisis. But first, get up out of your chairs, open the window, stick your head out and yell, and say, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Who are you talking to, Herb?
CGG, Atlanta.
Are they yelling in Atlanta, Herb?
Are they yelling in Atlanta, Ted?
But first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
They're yelling in Baton Rouge.
Hey guys, I hit the end button there because I was getting so pissed off. Hope you guys have a great day. That's the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast for you. This stuff makes me freaking fired up and nobody's talking about it. Any which way, that's what our podcast is all about. It's about lawns, lessons, life, and paying as little as taxes as humanly possible. You want a great podcast resource, by the way, check out Tom Wheelwright's podcast, The Wealth Ability Show. Fantastic podcast. Highly recommend their services and their training and his books. Any which way, let's get back over to Marty, Mr. Producer, down in the ATL. I'm going to go take a Xanax and my blood cholesterol levels so I can get my heart rate down. And you guys have a beautiful rest of the day. Thanks so much for listening to the show. Hire a cycle CPA, hire a good bookkeeper, hire a good tax professional. Stop paying so much in taxes. And thank you to DS Lawn Landscape for making my blood pressure go up 600 points. Have a great day, guys. Love ya. Bye.
New program alert. The How to Get New Lawn Care Customers training program is now available. If you guys have ever struggled at acquiring new customers or are looking to grow your lawn care business, then this new program might just be for you. Looking to learn the best tactics to develop a successful postcard marketing campaign? We got you covered. Have you ever wondered how to use social media to exponentially grow your business and dominate the competition? We got that too. Whether you're just getting started in business or you're a seasoned vet, there's something for everyone in this new program available now, exclusively at LawnpreneurAcademy.com.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.
This has been a Brian Fullerton and Mr. Producer production.